In 2015, millions of people watched the opening sequence of the James Bond film Spectre and saw what appeared to be one of the world's most spectacular cultural celebrations. Thousands of masked performers filled the streets of Mexico City. Giant skeletons towered above the crowd. Music echoed through the historic center as James Bond slipped unnoticed through the chaos, chasing his next target. There was just one problem: the parade didn't exist. What audiences around the world believed was a long-standing Mexican tradition was actually something invented for a movie. Yet within a year, fiction would become reality, and that fictional parade would evolve into one of Mexico City's biggest tourist attractions. The story begins with director Sam Mendes and his team as they search for a memorable opening for Spectre. They wanted something larger than life, a sequence that would immediately capture the audience's attention and establish the film's scale. Mexico City offered the perfect backdrop. Its historic architecture, massive central square, and rich cultural heritage created endless possibilities. But there was one challenge. Traditional Day of the Dead celebrations in Mexico were typically family-centered events, taking place in homes, cemeteries, and local communities. They were meaningful and visually striking, but they did not include the enormous citywide parade that the filmmakers envisioned. So the production team decided to create one. They designed towering skeletal puppets, elaborate costumes, giant floats, and a carnival-like procession winding through the heart of Mexico City. What appeared on screen looked ancient and authentic, but in reality it was a carefully constructed Hollywood creation. The opening scene itself became one of the most ambitious sequences in Bond history. The camera appears to follow James Bond in a single uninterrupted movement as he walks through crowded streets, enters a hotel, crosses rooftops, and eventually confronts his target. Although the scene is actually composed of multiple takes seamlessly stitched together, the illusion is remarkably convincing. Behind the scenes, the scale was enormous. More than 1,500 extras filled the streets. Months of rehearsals were required to coordinate performers, camera operators, cranes, stunt teams, and special effects crews. Even the explosive action sequences and helicopter stunts were performed practically on location, giving the scene a realism that audiences could feel. But there was another story unfolding behind the camera. Years later, leaked emails from the Sony Pictures hack revealed that Mexican authorities had provided significant financial incentives to bring the production to Mexico. The government saw an opportunity to showcase the country to a global audience and encouraged the filmmakers to present Mexico as vibrant, modern, and culturally rich. According to reports, earlier versions of the script contained a very different opening. To secure financial support, certain elements were revised. Officials reportedly requested that the film highlight Mexico City's beauty and avoid reinforcing negative stereotypes associated with crime and violence. The result was a creative solution that benefited both sides. The filmmakers gained an unforgettable opening sequence, while Mexico received what was essentially a 2-hour global advertisement viewed by millions of people. And then something unexpected happened. After Spectre was released, tourists began arriving in Mexico City hoping to witness the breathtaking Day of the Dead parade they had seen on screen, except there wasn't one. Visitors discovered that the spectacular celebration they had traveled to see existed only in the movie. Rather than viewing this as a problem, Mexico City's tourism authorities recognized an opportunity. If people wanted the parade to be real, why not make it real? In 2016, just 1 year after Spectre's release, Mexico City launched the first official Gran Desfile de Dia de Muertos, the Grand Day of the Dead parade. And Hollywood unexpectedly provided the foundation. Many of the giant skeletons, costumes, masks, and parade elements created for the movie were repurposed for the real-world event. Instead of starting from scratch, organizers inherited a collection of professionally designed assets worth millions of dollars. The enormous puppets that had once existed only as movie props returned to the streets. Thousands of costumes originally made for film extras found a second life on dancers, performers, and volunteers. What had begun as a fictional set piece suddenly became the centerpiece of a real cultural celebration. The first parade was an immediate success, Hundreds of thousands of people lined the streets to watch. International media covered the event. Tourists arrived from around the world. What started as a marketing opportunity quickly evolved into an annual tradition, but the transformation did not stop there. Local artists, cultural organizations, universities, and community groups began adding their own contributions. Traditional imagery, regional artistic styles, indigenous influences, and authentic Day of the Dead symbolism became woven into the event. Over time, the parade stopped being simply the Spectre Parade. It became Mexico City's parade. Today, the event stretches for kilometers through the city, featuring thousands of performers, musicians, dancers, and artists. Massive crowds gather along Paseo de la Reforma before the celebration concludes near the historic Zócalo. Millions of spectators now participate either in person or through media coverage. What makes this story remarkable is not just the success of a tourist attraction, it is the rare moment when a fictional world changed reality. Usually, filmmakers recreate real traditions for the screen. In this case, the process worked in reverse. A movie invented a tradition, audiences believed it existed, and reality eventually adapted to match the fiction. A parade that was never meant to be real became real. A movie prop became a cultural event. And one of the most memorable scenes in James Bond history ended up reshaping the tourism landscape of an entire city. Sometimes life imitates art, and sometimes a few minutes of movie magic can change the real world forever.